Hello everyone, welcome to English Tutorials by Poonam Thakur. In this video, I will be discussing the story The Rattrap by Swedish writer Selma Lagerlof from CBSE English Core textbook Flamingo. So let's get started. Let me tell you about the author. The author Selma Lagerlof was born in 1858 and passed away in 1940, was a Swedish writer whose stories have been translated in many languages. A universal theme runs through all of them, a belief that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through understanding and love. In the year 1909, she became the first woman and first Swedish writer to win the Nobel Prize for Literature. Setting of the story, location. This story is set amidst the mines of Sweden, rich in iron ore, which figure largely in the history of legends of that country. The story Rattrap is told somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale. Time frame. The Rattrap was originally published in the Swedish newspaper Gothenburgs Posten on 8 August 1887. It was then republished in several other periodicals in different language editions. The Rattrap is a story that is entertaining as well as philosophical. Through the metaphor of Rattrap, the author highlights the human predicament of falling into the trap of temptations. The story is a good analysis of the emotional needs of human beings that govern their behavior. There's a subtle humor all through the story that serves in lightening the seriousness of its tone. Let's ponder on the important elements of the story The Rattrap using mind map. The Rattrap takes place somewhere in rural western Sweden in a vaguely nostalgic past that is not specified, but its very vagueness helps give the story its timeless fairy tale quality. Title. The story has an appropriate and suggestive title. The Rattrap is a metaphor to highlight the human predicament. Just as a rat is fooled by a bait and gets trapped, most human beings are likely to fall into the trap of material benefits. The story begins with the rat traps and ends with the rat trap as a present for someone who has helped a rat to get free from trap. Narration is close third person focusing on the vagabond. The story is told somewhat in the manner of a fairy tale where the philosophical gravity is toned down with the touches of humor and wit. Next is tone and mood. The tone is neutral and measured, giving credence to the vagabond's pessimism without outright condoning it. The mood, however, is somewhat hopeful, especially through the second half of the story as the vagabond begins to be swayed by Adla's kindness. Theme. The story deals with the trap of material benefits that most human beings are prone to fall into. Focusing on human loneliness and the need to bond with others, it brings out our tendency to look down upon the have-nots of the society and deprive them of an opportunity to make their lives worth living. Sub-theme. The Rattrap provides a glimpse into human nature. It emphasizes the fact that everybody has an essential goodness deep inside which can be awakened through love, respect, kindness, and understanding. The story highlights the fact that there is an essential goodness in every human being. At times, due to circumstances and situation, a person kills his conscience, but the same man, when gets love and affection, exhibits a totally different side of his character. Human beings do have tendency to redeem themselves from dishonest ways, as does the peddler at the end of the story. The Rattrap is a short, almost fairy tale story that centers around the transforming power of human kindness. An unnamed peddler of rat traps goes from seeing the world as one big rat trap and engaging in robbery to returning his stolen money and proclaiming himself free, all as a result of experiencing true kindness and generosity. By showing the peddler's potential for positive change, Swedish writer Selma Lagerlof expresses a belief that there is a core of goodness in all people and that this goodness can be unlocked through compassion and kindness. The story brilliantly captures the effect of a compassionate gesture in bringing out the best in a human being. Let's try to understand the story with the help of a concept map. The story is about a poor peddler who sells rat traps of wire that he begged for or had stolen. However, occasionally he had to turn to begging and stealing as selling rat traps alone was not enough to sustain him. He looked at the world with vengeance for being unkind to him. He entertained himself with the idea of the world being nothing but a big rat trap, where the riches, joys, shelter, food, clothing, comforts, and luxuries act like a baits to entrap people for life. This idea amused him as he was deprived of all these things. One dark evening, as he was trudging along the road, he caught sight of a little grey cottage by the roadside and he knocked on the door to ask shelter for the night. He was surprised to get a warm welcome from the host. This man had been a crofter at Ramjo's iron works. He was extremely kind to the peddler. He not only fed him porridge, but the two also smoked together and played cards. The crofter was so pleased to have a guest that he even disclosed his source of income to the stranger. He showed him the 30 kroner bills which he had got after selling his cow's milk to the creamery and had kept in a pouch hung on a nail near the window frame. The next morning the peddler took leave from his host but returned half an hour later, smashed the window pane and stole the money. Pleased with his smartness, he decided to walk through the woods instead of taking a road to avoid being caught. But as the night fell, he lost his way in the maze of the forest path. Completely exhausted, hungry and cold, he realized that 30 kroner bills had been a bait to trap him in the huge rat trap that the world is. Finally, he saw no way out and he sank down on the ground, tired to death. Suddenly, he heard the regular thumping of the hammer and realized that he was near to some iron mill. He gathered strength and walked in the direction of the sound to finally reach the Ramjo's iron works. He sneaked into the mill and entered the forge. He sought permission from the master blacksmith to stay for the night. The man agreed, but rather coldly. Still the peddler went close to the furnace to warm himself and lie down to sleep. Soon the owner of the mill arrived for a nightly inspection. The rat trap seller's presence caught his attention. He mistook the peddler for an old regimental comrade, Captain Niels Olof. Overwhelmed to meet his old acquaintance and saddened by his pitiable condition, the mill owner insisted the peddler to accompany him to his manor house. The peddler did not reveal his identity but refused to go with the iron master. After failing to convince the peddler to be his Christmas guest, the iron master left the mill. But within half an hour, iron master's daughter Edla Wilmanson arrived and invited the peddler once again. She assured him that he would be free to leave whenever he wanted. Touched by the girl's warmth, friendly and sympathetic attitude, he gives consent to accompany Edla to the manor house. On the way to the house, he regretted stealing the money from the crofter and once again considered himself caught in the trap. On reaching the manor house, he was accorded a warm welcome. He was given a shave, refreshing bath and change of clothes. After this transformation, he was presented before the host, who realized that he has mistaken this man for his old comrade. He demanded an explanation from the peddler. The peddler insisted that he had never claimed to be the comrade that he was thought to be. On the contrary, he begged to be allowed to stay in the forge, and it was the iron master who had refused to listen to him. He offers to change into his rags and leave. Upset by the peddler's pretense, the iron master threatened to hand him over to the sheriff. Suddenly, the rat trap peddler put forward his idea of the world being a rat trap, and that one day even the iron master may become caught in it. The iron master laughed it off and ordered the rat trap peddler to leave immediately. At this point, Edla intervened and said that despite the misunderstanding, she wanted the man to stay with them for the Christmas. Her father gave in to her wish, and this unknown guest was given a hospitable stay. The peddler spent Christmas Eve doing little else other than eating and sleeping. The Christmas Eve passed peacefully, and Edla and her father left for the church in the morning, leaving behind their sleeping guest. On reaching the church, they heard about the theft at the old crofter's and realized that the thief's description fitted their guest. Worried and upset, they returned home, thinking that their precious silverware too must have been stolen by now. However, when they reached the manor house, they were informed by their valet that the guest had left without taking anything with him. Rather, he had left behind a parcel for Edla. The peddler left a package containing a small rat trap with the 3 10 kroners bills that he had stolen from the crofter. Along with that, he left a letter thanking Edla for her generosity and asking her to return the bills to the crofter. He wrote, "The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat who would have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way he got power to clear himself." And it was signed as Captain von Stale. The peddler had expressed gratitude to the girl for treating him like a true captain. The humane treatment by the gentlewoman had aroused the conscience of the tramp, and he had made an effort to rise from his befallen state by returning the stolen money. So in the end, we can say that the peddler was accepted and welcomed to the house as captain. Adla gave the peddler a kind treatment, and in spite of knowing his reality, she treated him like a captain. This awakened the latent goodness of his heart, and he also behaved in a dignified manner and signed himself as a Captain von Stale. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. Don't forget to give your valuable feedback. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share and subscribe. English Tutorials by Poonam Thakur.